Hello, everyone. My name is Abhishek Singh. I'm a partner with Everest Group. And as part of what I do for a living, I'm an analyst who looks at the healthcare space. And that's what I have been doing all through my life. Shashi, why don't you introduce yourself and then we can take the discussion forward.
Absolutely. I am Shashi Yadiki, CEO of Smart Data Solutions. We are a healthcare process automation company that is committed to drive efficiencies in healthcare.
Patrick.
I'm Patrick Boris, and I'm the CTO of Smart Data Solutions.
Great. So as I introduced when I was introducing myself, I talked about the fact that I look at healthcare. So the topic of the day is going to be healthcare, and we are today going to talk about future-proofing healthcare. And one of the reasons why we are talking about this in day-to-day is because earlier this year, we saw a major incident happen in the healthcare space, which was the Change Healthcare, even the ransomware attack, which brought to the center the criticality of why healthcare organizations need to focus on cybersecurity. And Shashi, Patrick, having spoken with you multiple times, and Smart Data Solutions' role as a clearinghouse, that's why I'm very curious to have this discussion with you, is because clearinghouses sit at the center of how data moves from payers to providers in the healthcare space. You take care of the standardization, you take care of the cleaning up of the data to ensure that the whole value-based care engine, the virtuous cycle of it, continues moving. Now, in the context that we set about cybersecurity and the role of clearinghouses, how would you like to set the preamble of what is the role that clearinghouses play in this?
Thanks, Abhishek. So, clearinghouses are central to pass the data between providers and payers and making sure the data is accurate and you pay the providers in a timely fashion. And that is important as the providers deliver care to the members. The core functions of a clearinghouse, which it's pretty common, is to take the 837 claims file and provide the features like eligibility status, claim status inquiry, which are the 27, 270, 271, 276, 277. Also, explanation of payments, wherein you provide the 835 transaction. All the payments that are provided to the provider, but you list the information. So those are the core functions. Yeah. Along with it, the attachments, the claims attachments are also delivered. These are the core functions. Beyond that, the value-added features relate to how we are able to support the providers and the payers to make sure that the quality of data is high so that there is no rework.
Yep.
So there are business rules that the providers have, business rules that the payers have. And we want to make sure these business rules are institutionalized in our platform such a way that they don't need to do that work. So we have that. The capability that a clearinghouse should have is to predict potential issues in the business rules and prevent any problems. The earlier that you can detect, the less the cost for healthcare. That's the first part. Second, this data traverses a path in the healthcare ecosystem. You should have complete visibility of it. How the claim traverses that path, it's very important that the payers and the providers are able to see it, right? Third, you are able to manage it, as part of a governance structure, right? You should be able to provide that information, right, in a dashboard, and it is visible in a common view, right? So those are some of the capabilities that the clearinghouses expect today. Along with providing the core feature set, the expectations that clearinghouses have is also about data security. How do we make sure this data that is so critical for healthcare and the members is protected? There are bad actors out there because the value of healthcare data is so high, they're all attracted to it. And it is the responsibility of the clearinghouses to make sure their technology and the platform is resilient. Yeah. That we are proactive about detection of these issues and preventing them. So that's how I would see, the evolved role of a clearinghouse. A clearinghouse that is able to add on business rules to simplify, right, the whole management of the claims transaction, is able to provide visibility of the transaction, is also able to protect the data of the transaction. That's how I see the role of a clearinghouse.
Wow. In fact, I was making note of all the action verbs that you were using, and I'll just list those down before I ask the next question. So, high trust, multimodal, real time, seamless, predictive, and proactive. I mean, in many ways, I heard the story kind of flow in that direction. Now,
Yes.
you talked about bad actors, and I think we need to bring that discussion back to why we are having this discussion today, which is the whole cybersecurity incident, and now what the evolved posture should be on that. There are very many reasons why healthcare is such a huge target for bad actors. I mean, obviously, petabytes and petabytes of personal financial data flows through healthcare records. Healthcare organizations maintain a critical aspect of our lives. I mean, being in the US, we know how much dependent we are, whether it's payers or providers, in terms of getting that care. And because of regulatory and compliance aspects, there is a reputation aspect also that plays into the picture, which is there is a legal implication of that for healthcare organizations to be paying critical attention to the whole aspect of cybersecurity. Now, bringing that discussion, this whole context back to the clearinghouse aspect of things,
Yeah.
and either you or Patrick could answer that question, which is the question around how are clearinghouses thinking about the technology backbone, which will deliver that high trust, multimodal aspect through which you deal with so much of healthcare data?
Patrick?
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, like any organization, we have to implement every kind of foundational security principle and technology that we have available to us. And so that includes things like zero trust and multi-factor authentication, and also adopting security frameworks, SOC 2 at a minimum, but in healthcare especially, high trust would be preferred. And we really have to go beyond that as well. We have to move into transformative and kind of next generation technologies. Shashi talked about AI. Well, the bad actors that we're talking about there are certainly leveraging AI in their methods and techniques. And so you have to integrate that into your defenses as well. These defenses, the AI capabilities that are out there, are quite striking, and we're adopting them, right? Systems that can observe and learn normal traffic patterns within your network and spot unusual activity by building an AI model of that activity. And the ones that can actually automate the response as well, automate containment responses, automate reporting responses. Healthcare clearinghouses should be adopting these technologies as we are, because that is the most proactive way to protect the members' data.
That's great. That's great, because all the aspects that you talked about, which are now almost becoming like hygiene, whether it's multi-factor authentication, we are talking about predictive responses. So in many ways, these are defining like what clearinghouses of the future need to look like, and almost offer these features almost as hygiene factors. You used a word when you were speaking about overall the role of clearinghouses, which was institutionalize. And I think that's in many ways the ethos of how I'm pretty sure clearinghouses need to start thinking about whether this is the traditional role of clearinghouses or the evolved role. As smart data solutions, what are some of those elements which you are making sure become part of the institutionalization that you hope to see in the industry?
Yeah. First of all, I think it's important to recognize that the value of healthcare data is very high, right? Now, when I say that, if you look at a bad actor, they value healthcare data 5 times that of a regular personal data, which means the attractiveness for them is very high, which means our platform need to be more resilient, and healthcare industry need to recognize it. When I say institutionalization, we need to recognize that there is a huge threat, and that technology, process, everything should be aligned to address that problem. Okay. So what I see is the responsibility of organizations like us, as an automation company, an interoperability company. We want to make sure that, first of all, it's a platform that is integrated, that doesn't have data residing in different places, working in silos. So we have an integrated gateway that is on an open architecture that is resilient and scalable, right? It is very, very essential so that we don't put the organization at risk with a bad architecture, number one, right? Number two, we have a responsibility to make sure we're implementing best-in-class detection mechanisms, right? Now, I want to also admit that putting the best efforts, the latest detection mechanisms and prevention techniques, you should also be ready in the eventuality, right? Do we have the right processes in the event that incident occurs, that we are still attacked, right? What are those incident responses to take care of your members, the providers, all the constituents have that right, okay? Along with that, what mechanism do we have to come back to life, right? And I'll let Patrick talk about that. I think if a clearinghouse has the best-in-class features, which is what I spoke at the start, I'll summarize it, an ability to build a resilient path to come back, I think then we have really institutionalized, taking care of healthcare data. That's how I see it.
Absolutely. And what you talked about are two things I noticed. I mean, if I could assign an adverb to both of them, first aspect of what you talked about was the resilience aspect of it. What you're not talking about when it comes to the recovery plans, etc., is the empathy part of it, because even despite the best laid plans, things will happen. What is your plan of action to deal with when an incident happens becomes a core part of it. And that's why, Patrick, I'm really interested in hearing about how these work out, the disaster recovery plans and the different scenarios you look at.
Right. So in a security program, what you plan for is as important as the defenses that you're setting up, right? You have to maintain a security culture as well as a technology environment that anticipates the possibility or probability of having to respond to a cyber incident. And so we look at different scenarios for what happens if the data is compromised in one area of the network, right? Have we protected that data? Do we have copies of the data and of the systems that are critical for business operations that we're pushing elsewhere so that we can bring the business continuity and bring service back up after we've confirmed the eradication containment of the event. It's also really important that no organization can go it alone, and having security partners is extremely important. So identifying the best security partners and working with them and planning ahead for response. This includes activities like going and doing environmental assessments and doing inventories and things like that, so that your security partner is ready to step in and help immediately, and there's no ramp up. They can do immediate response. So those things are really important to us.
Absolutely. And that brings me to, I think, to the last bit question here, which is around, I think, as tenets, whether it's the resilience aspect, when we are talking about having a plan to deal with incidents. The other aspect is, as healthcare organizations now deal with this evolved world wherein they are at the center of attention of bad actors, and you are going to them and offering your own solutions to help them navigate this evolved scenario. How do you build that trust? I mean, what is it in your solution that gives them the trust to continue working with you so that they believe, even how you contract for it, that yes, we are signing up for something which is allowing us to deal with risks better?
Yeah, I think first of all, how evolved is our clearinghouse, right? Next generation clearinghouse. I talked about do the basic functions, then you're able to do the business rules, provide frictionless claims experience, being proactive, all of that, right? And then our commitment to our clients on the data security is our AI engine, which that's what we stand for, making healthcare efficient with the AI automation company. We have our platform uses our AI engine to make sure we are predicting this constantly and preventing it. That's I would say a large part of it, right? Being invested in the technology with the latest and also constantly looking for issues that are coming in, right? That's one. Second, I would say the culture of security. Patrick is responsible constantly to look, institutionalizing a culture of security within the company. One is to say it, second is to implement it.
Yes.
So that's very, very essential in our mind. So a platform that detects and prevents, a culture that is implemented, then in the eventuality, like Patrick spoke about, having seen and learned from the multiple incidents, how quickly are we able to respond and communicate with people, at the same time using the aspects of how we are backing up the data constantly, within a short span of time, be able to come back to life, and how quickly can you do? For example, you were the clients were impacted for over a month. We see that with things that we are institutionalizing in our organization, we can be back in about 3 to 4 days. And why? That's because we've learned and put the investment on that process. So next generation clearinghouse, security prevention, right? That's the first part. Security as a culture and our commitment to our clients to bring them back quickly. Those are what we will share with our clients, in terms of our commitment to healthcare.
Excellent. If I had more time, I would probably think about kind of listing those out the way you are describing it. Very beautiful way of explaining it, because you described the engine that you have, which is based, the core of which is AI. You also talked about the aspect that there's a culture which takes the engine to the next level, because that's how you live and breathe this aspect of ensuring trust for clients and helping them avoid risks.
Yeah.
And then all of this, the engine and the culture in action, in execution within client environments, which is what brings it to life. That brings us to the end of our discussion. But one thing that I wanted to really highlight is that while the topic was primarily focused on cybersecurity, what I am taking away from our discussion here is that what I describe it as proactive resilience and security, which is one of the cores of what clearinghouses need to provide. And I see that come out in Smart Data Solutions' own posture. There are a lot many more aspects that I heard coming out from your narrative around what are the core pillars of the evolved role of clearinghouses. Many things such as frictionless claims processing that you were talking about, how you were talking about streamlined collaboration between payers and providers, the whole aspect of intelligence, intelligence-led data transition and data protection, and all of that came out. And then last but not the least, whole aspect of AI-driven accuracy. I think these came out apart from the one pillar that we discussed, which is cybersecurity.
Yep.
So I think that was a great discussion that we had, and I think we touched upon the core aspect of why healthcare data is core to the industry, why the vulnerability of it is bringing it everything to the core, why clearinghouses are core to this entire story, and how clearinghouses themselves are evolving to such a critical role in the healthcare arena. Thank you for your time. I think this was a great discussion. Hopefully we'll have another conversation on this topic soon again. Thank you, everyone.